Government is currently working on a plan to give retirement fund members limited access to a portion of their pension savings. Experts say the current tax regime will be applicable on early withdrawals. This means the first 25,000 rand is likely to be tax-free. A minimum of 18% in tax is applicable for withdrawals between 25,000 rand and 660,000 rand, and up to 990,000 rand will be taxed at 27%. But it's not yet clear how much money individuals will be allowed to withdraw.
When people get to retirement, they're able to withdraw 500,000 rand tax-free. Less every single withdrawal that you've done while you were working. So in other words, if previously you've withdrawn, for argument's sake, 100,000 rand, and this time you withdraw 100,000 rand, it means in total you've drawn 200,000 rand. And when you get to retirement, you will not have 500,000 rand tax-free. You will have 500 less what you've withdrawn, in this example, 200,000 rand, which means you have 300,000 rand tax-free. Yes, SARS does keep track of it. In other words, they're trying to incentivize people to rather keep money in retirement funds until retirement.
While this could offer some a temporary reprieve, experts say the early withdrawal of pension funds will likely affect people's retirement nest. This will presumably put more pressure on the government to provide old age pensions to more retired people. They say that early withdrawal could also force individuals to work for longer.
The need to continue working at retirement is more a function of saving throughout your entire working career and not withdrawing. And yes, I'm talking 40 years. If a person starts saving 5 years before retirement, they have to replace 40 years of savings. That's really hard. So it's very likely that if people start spending their retirement monies before retirement, whether it's for reasons of resignation or the ability to access the money early, or whatever the reason, the fact of the matter is, if a person spends their retirement savings before retirement, they just have less money at retirement, which means there's more chance of them having to continue earning income to pay their bills.
It's estimated that only about 10% of the population is likely to retire comfortably. Failure to preserve a pension when changing jobs is one of the main causes of financial difficulties during retirement. It's recommended that you should save at least 20% of your salary on a monthly basis to have enough upon retirement. But just what are the costs that one is likely to incur during retirement?
When someone retires, you should have in place. The first is you should have a home paid for. The second is you should have no debt. And the third, you should have a good healthcare program. Those three things should be in place by the time you reach retirement. And so often people take money from their pension fund when they retire. And as you know, on their provident fund, up to a certain date, you can take all in cash subject to tax. Under a pension fund, only 1/3, and they pay off debt. So money they pays off debt, which obviously reduces their monthly expenses, but it doesn't necessarily give them enough to live on. And as I said early on, with inflation, and retirement inflation is not 5%. Retirement inflation, if you think of the cost of medical aid, if you think of the cost of transport, if you think of the cost of rate increase in food, rates and taxes, electricity, your rate of inflation in retirement is closer to 7.5%.
Experts have warned consumers against using their retirement money to pay off debt. This could lead to a debt spiral, as some might be tempted to take on more debt.
When people pay off debt, some years down the line, they get themselves back into debt. It's very much about the Maslow's theory of needs, the hierarchy of needs, where people want to keep up with their neighbors. So their car's now a bit older, so the next car they buy is a bit more expensive, so they take on more debt. Their home, they paid a lot of their home off, so they can afford to buy a bigger home. They go back into debt. So what happens is, even though in the short term you pay off debt, long term, like everyone else, you end up with more debt. The real problem is that if you withdraw from your retirement or pension fund or provident fund, you are going to have less at retirement. And currently, most South Africans are not able to retire comfortably.
Many retired people are battling to make ends meet due to the fact that they do not have sufficient money to meet all their financial needs and obligations, and withdrawing a portion of your pension fund just for immediate gratification could exacerbate the problem and put you in a worse off situation. Naledi Matlapeng, SABC News, Johannesburg.